I'll give you a song. But this is outside, you know, the mountains.
Oh, wow.
Very,
Beautiful.
a lot of a sort of a conscious. Yeah, it's called the Mountains of Light, Montaña de Luz, and it's called Eco Spiritual Center.
Wow, wow. You are so fortunate to be living in such a magnificent and beautiful place. Thank you. Thank you for the guided tour. So Paul, perhaps you would like to introduce yourself and say something about who you are and what you're doing in Ecuador, and just a little introduction first would be great.
Okay. My name is Paul Murtha. I live in Ecuador. I've been here for 15 years. I had the good fortune to start a foundation that worked a lot with agroecology and helping with, nutrition, family nutrition. Worked with that for 8 years and retired a couple of years ago. Another circumstance came around 8 years ago that was brought me into working with a local gang here in Ibarra, the Bloods, who had some difficulties and were really looking for a solution in life. And I was given an inroad to present, some message of peace, and that was quite. They really took to it. Like, it was a meeting with the gang leaders, and I think something happened that they, began decided on their own that it was time to shift. And so that relationship and TPRF, the Paramount Foundation, has contributed in various instances to facilitating their transformation, and it's ongoing, which is quite astounding, really. Talking about an 8-year relationship that they have maintained as well, to the point where now they have their own center. First stage of this Seeds of Hope program with TPRF was to give emergency food baskets in their neighborhood, Alpachaca, to the elderly people, handicapped people, people who are really in need of some assistance with food. That's now almost 5 months. The Bloods, as they've incorporated legally as a calle paz y respeto, which means peace and respect street. They're now, handling when we have, when we do these deliveries, they know the people, they're able to deliver to the people who really need it. But also what's interesting is more recently, along with the larger Seeds of Hope program, which has expanded to work with family gardens and develop seed banks. One of the leaders, Christopher, graduated as an agronomist recently, and he's heading up that side of the project. Again, it's about creating food security and some stability in terms of nutrition and diet for the people. And it's just fascinating that, all of this is it's like a weaving. It's been happening over the years. And so, there's a short introduction.
Thank you. That's amazing. So it all started 8 years ago, you say, when somehow you managed to meet with them and introduce them to the Peace Education Program, and that they undertook that program. And from everything we've seen on the films, their lives were completely transformed and turned around. And now it's continued. That's the most amazing thing, is that it's continued on. It wasn't just a flash in the pan or an overnight thing. It really, really did make a huge difference to their lives, by the sounds of it.
Well, what's interesting is, I think, to their favor and to their credit, these young people had been feeding the bad wolf for a long time, right? And they had been seeing the results of, this kind of focus in their lives. And really, some of them are now with families and so forth. They made a conscious decision to change. And I think, they were more in appreciation. I found a great appreciation in them, and understanding even what is, peace. What does it mean? It was really an impactful change. And again, it's always changing. Of course, this is a day-to-day process. And, and I might say that, they didn't enter into the peace education program per se, because I immediately recognized that their attention span, short, and, this was going to have to be kind of like spoon-fed. And I worked with TPRF, working together to pick out videos, short, concise videos, and also, I didn't go into the quite the format, particularly in those days, of where everyone would sit and someone would be guiding, but we would watch a short video and then get into a discussion. And I think that's what helped a lot, because I think they were able to translate the message into their own terms and their words, kind of, share amongst each other what that meant. And I found that, that kind of exchange was really what empowered them. And so in a sense, this was a custom-made peace education program, considering the circumstances. But, I'm impressed to this day, some of them, in these interviews, how they speak about peace, how they speak about what it means to them. I think, they understand it's a process. It's been very, very interesting also now that they have their center, they have a recording studio in there, they have a barber shop, they're working on projects, community outreach projects, including the emergency food baskets now. And, to see how, maybe someone hasn't reached enlightenment yet, but, being able to put into practice, helping others, reaching out, creating, positive, projects that, I think that has been in their process towards peace. It's been a very practical experience. I've really, let go of my ideas and concepts about how things should happen. Tried to step out of the way in a way, and let them come to their own realizations. Let the process be natural. And I think that's been part of the success and part of how we've maintained trust over the years. That nothing's being imposed here. This is thing from the bottom up, not from the top down, and it's really fascinating. I never would have thought, that this would be happening in my life, but we're very good friends now, and we talk about all kinds of things. And now with the Urban Gardens project, they're very proud of having this kind of a practical, giving this a practical assistance to people who really need it, and using their talents and their knowledge. And I think, one of your questions, I remember, was about, how do you reach out, to this youth? And for me, it's been offering them the possibility of a creative, positive project of their creation, using their talents. Right now they're doing, these rap songs. There is a rap song that they've prepared for Peace Day, and they've just recorded it. This is their talent. This is what they love to do. This is their expression. And, if anything, the success has been to just facilitate their talents, their way, and let it come from them. You know, and I think that also is a message to them that, you know, hey, I believe in you. You know, I believe in the best of you. You know, we're not trying to change anything. Again, it's that word change can be very daunting. You know, first of all, it kind of implies that something is wrong, which is not the case. You know, it really is. You know, the process is discovery. You know, it's often mentioned. This is a path of discovery, a path of undoing, a path of simplifying, and, you know, letting, you know, these youth discover that for themselves is, I think, why, you know, it has an 8-year history. And so.
Yeah, so it has been incredible. And obviously the foundations were very gentle, and as you say, they were very natural, and you followed what that was good for them, what worked for them. And that sounds as though that was the secret, and that you didn't follow any kind of formula. You adapted to their abilities to, as you say, to focus, and you used the materials that were available in a way that worked for them, without necessarily having to feel constrained to do things a certain way. And that sounds as though that was the key to the success in terms of getting them to think about those things that, you know, for example, the Peace Education Program actually, you know, helps facilitate people's thinking about. So at the moment then, there's this seed program happening, and they're doing the food, taking food parcels to people because of COVID. There's a gardening project for urban gardens.
Yes, I think there's some 25 families now who want the gardens, and it's, you know, of course, when one neighbor sees the other neighbor, you know, with their garden out, they want it. So it's a growing initiative. You know, being able to give plants and seeds, you know, there's not a great cost involved. A lot of it is, you know, the people making their space and working the earth and wanting to have food, ready food at hand. These days, there's not much convincing that has to be done. People are very concerned about food security. As of a few months ago, you know, there was a serious lockdown here. You know, people could not leave their houses, and most people, you know, work a day-to-day job. You know, they get paid weekly if they're lucky, and all that was shut down. So there was, you know, and there still is quite a, you know, an intense situation. So it was wonderful that, you know, the Calle Paz y Despeto were able to identify those who were most in need and, you know, deliver these food baskets. And now the community, the urban gardens are a step towards perhaps a more sustainable solution, you know, more long-term solution where, you know, people will be able to harvest their own food. And, you know, the ultimate goal is then to create seed banks. These is another phase that involves native seeds. You know, these are seeds, they're not hybrid seeds that plant and you get one broccoli and that's all great and good, but that plant does not go on to create seeds. You know, it's just there to produce. You know, that's unfortunately what a lot of the situations in the world where it forces farmers to buy their seeds every, you know, season. Real food security has to involve native seeds that give good seeds. It's like good moms that give good kids. And this is what we're about now in terms of a real long-term solution, because a community that has a seed bank with these native seeds is basically independent of, you know, any food source from the outside. They can now have their own ongoing food source because these seeds create good seeds again. And we're working with another organization, Guardianes de Semillas, which is like the seed guardians. They have 3,000 varieties of native seeds of Ecuador. that so we're giving kits out of these seeds to communities. So individual families in those communities will be kind of commissioned to plant the seeds, harvest the seeds, and contribute to the seed bank, and which will ultimately be a very empowering situation. Looking into the future, many have said, in fact, we just received some communications from some agencies who are kind of head up networks of foundations who are all recognizing that food security is now going to be the #1 issue, and seed banks are going to be the #1 solution. So we actually are talking with people who now have an interest in expanding this project to all of Ecuador, to create seed banks in the communities. And we're looking for a project that was working with seed banks, and here we are. And that's amazingly exciting and a huge honor. And again, thanks to the Paul Murtha Foundation for having the insight to support this project. I think it's interesting beyond the food for people. It's the Paul Murtha Foundation has been supremely helpful in disasters, in crisis. This is almost like one of the first projects that's a more preventative issue, that whatever happens, more pandemic or global warming, just all that could be coming down the pike, these people will have the opportunity to have food security in a real sense, and that's pretty amazing. We actually had an interview with the head of the department of a seed bank of the local university, and there's also a alternative high school that is now made the seed bank into the center, what they call the pearl of their whole curriculum is now going to be centered around what creating a seed bank means. It's an agroecological alternative high school. Wow. And they have readily decided that this is so important, they're going to make it the key to their whole curriculum. And in fact, the other day I found a wonderful video of Paul Murtha speaking. It's called "The Seed," and he holds up a little lychee seed and talks about how this is more incredible. It's got a better chip than any iPhone or anything else, and the information that it holds from eons of evolution, and then that it could deliver generations of lychee trees just from this one little thing. It's true, and it's I think the seed is something that has not received its proper limelight, and it's now more than ever going to be critical that we start honoring, what is the seed in the whole story of evolution, and how they have walked hand in hand with human beings since the beginning. And now perhaps their importance is going to really come around. So it's very exciting. People recognize and are recognizing the importance of seed and caring for them. They're just like human beings. They need certain conditions and certain care, and it's a wonderful, 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 wonderful project, and it's bringing out the best in people. We're also finding that in the communities that are working with the seed banks and the gardens, where families are coming together. There are community gardens. There's several. One that has 60 families involved. There's a number of them, and where people are coming together and working together and helping each other. And I think the word empathy should be the key topic of this time. And I think all that is about gardens and seed carry a lot of the essence of empathy, and I think it's a real solution on many levels. It's absolutely, I feel very, very fortunate to be a part of this.
Thank you very much for explaining something of what's happening out there with you on top of the world there. I don't know if you're able to just say a little bit more about the film and the documentary that's being made, if that's something you're able to speak about.
Sure. The Permanent Foundation is quite taken by this project, thrilled, and want to share, what's happening with, their constituency, and, put it up on an international level. It's an important story to share, not just, that it's a TPRF funded project, but it is so essential. I've been recently, I've had a camera crew with me. We've done takes with, the Kaiji Positive Specto, the urban gardens. We've gone out into the community. We also had an official inauguration event for the Seed Bank project. That was quite lovely. That was filmed. And, they're going to be editing that and using it as they will. I think it's probably going to go up, a little later on. Editing is the process. But again, I recently made a quick little homegrown video of what's going on, and perhaps with their approval, well, they wanted to put that up on the TPRF YouTube website. So I think that will be happening soon, and perhaps even in time to, for World Peace Day. I just so appreciate their support. It's been really wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for your time, and it's been fascinating listening to you talking about your experience, about what's happening there. So thank you very much indeed, and we look forward to hopefully having the link, which would be great. We can share that link on the Peace Partners website, and then really looking forward to seeing the documentary when it's finally published and ready. So thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome very much. My pleasure. And go get your hands dirty in the garden, okay?